NBC Palm Springs presents Desert AIDS Project's 25th Annual Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards, brought to you by Revival Stores, honoring the legacy of Steve Chase with the Humanitarian Award, honoring Jeff Kors and James Williamson with the Partners for Life Award, honoring Gunia Carlson and UN AIDS with the Science and Medicine Award, plus a special performance by music legend Barry Manilow.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a special presentation of the 25th Annual Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards. I'm Sandy Newton. I'm standing on the red carpet for one of our Valley's most glamorous nights.
When we first heard we're going to be honored, we literally were breathless.
To be here tonight, I'm honored to support not only Steve Chase and the incredible work that all of Desert AIDS Project does, but to be there and watch Barry.
It's the way we show our mission at DAP and humanitarian work and honoring Steve Chase this 25th year. We are so thrilled to be here.
When I see the hope in this Desert AIDS Project, it just makes me feel so good. And now they've opened their doors to everyone.
Something like 700,000 Americans living with HIV, 14% of them don't know they have it, which is why it's important to get tested.
To see really the spirit of Steve Chase, and also, of course, to see the people of this Palm Springs city and how much people are devoted to assist and to help and to give. And that's also very, very impressive.
2020 is the target year.
2020 is the target year that 90% of folks know that they have HIV if they're living with it. They're connected to care and on medication. That's our goal.
We may have listened to Copacabana on the way here, just so we were fully versed. Yeah, we had to get ourselves fully Manilowed up and ready to go.
It's a thrill that he's bringing his entire show, his band, the sound, the lights. And I have to tell you, because I just got off the phone with him, he is as excited as we are all. I mean, he really is. He is thrilled to be doing this.
It's also exciting that Barry Manilow is going to be here tonight. I'm a fan-alow.
We look forward to seeing Barry sing. I took my mom to a Barry concert when I was in my 20s, and it was probably one of the best concerts I'd ever seen.
Well, having Barry Manilow tonight, I mean, that is the piece de résistance.
We have been looking so forward to this. I mean, the 25th anniversary, and to have Barry Manilow here, he is so generous to this entire community. So it's just we're just looking so forward to it.
Doctor, you look so stunning. This is spectacular.
It's a traditional Indian sari.
I made this dress last year, decided to wear something else, and knew tonight was the night to finally do it. I saved it for a year.
We were saying I think it's fun for the doctors to see themselves all dressed up for the night. It's a little different than scrubs.
A little bit.
Right. Look at those shoes, Susan.
No, they're like perfect. They're platform, they're pearl, they're gold. They're just outstanding.
We've got Chanel, we've got polka dots, and we've got sparkly.
Yes.
So, I mean, you know what?
And I'm thrilled because I'm looking around and we have a huge crowd, sold out crowd tonight. Glamorous, young, older, wonderful mix.
It's one of those suits that looks terrible in the hanger, but I put it on and the party's on.
Right, exactly. Wow, such a fabulous red carpet. And now, let's get to the fabulous show.
Where you coming from? A long road and the money's gone. All the games where you played your part from the very start just to come this far. You should know I believe in you. Every race you run, you're my number one. Kick it up now and bring it on. This will be your day. 'Cause baby, you were born. And you knock it down. You're all set now to rock this town. You don't really need to play it low. Just get up and go. this is all your show. You should know I believe in you. Every race you run, you're my number one. Kick it off now and bring it on. This will be your day.
And tonight I'm with Tyne Daly. You're a multiple Emmy award-winning actress. You've also been on the stage. You've done just about everything. And of course, you're on one of our hit CBS shows, Judging Amy. You're going to receive the Arts and Activism Award tonight. What does that mean to you personally?
Free dinner? No. That's a terrible thing to say.
Very honored to introduce a young lady I've known for many years, and we had the honor to go to San Francisco and do the first AIDS benefit back in '83 when nobody was doing it. And of course it was and that night she got very excited, and you know, she showed her boob, and then well, it looked good, Shirley, I don't know.
I have watched so many people suffer, and I kind of came in, you know, kind of right after BB. I started hearing and seeing people really get sick, and now I see people live. I see people live, and tonight has brought me so much hope, and I am so inspired by that little Dana, or probably bigger than me Dana, that came out here and gave $1,000 of her very own money. I mean, when I was that age, I was like, I'm going to the mall.
I love what you're all doing here tonight. It makes so much sense to me. Thank you, Desert AIDS Project. Thank you so much for what you do.
I would like to welcome you to the 18th Annual Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards, and I am thrilled to be here. I had a choice. I could have stayed in Los Angeles with my straight friends, or I could have spent this evening here in Palm Springs with my friends, many of whom are gay. And like Cynthia Nixon, I chose gay. So,
Born to win, your destiny is victory. Baby, you were born to win. Never give up, never give in. You were born to win. Your destiny is victory. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Baby,
Welcome to the 25th Annual Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards. Please welcome your co-chairs for this evening, Desert AIDS Project Board members Lori Kibbe and Kevin Bass, and Board Vice Chair Patrick Jordan.
We're so fortunate to be here together tonight because we really do have an amazing event and an amazing experience in store. There's going to be a lot of thanks and a lot of hope.
We're here to celebrate, to hear moving stories, inspiring stories, to honor some very remarkable individuals and organizations.
And then there's going to be a lot of sweet, sweet icing on the cake. Our very own legendary Tony, Emmy, and Grammy award-winning, generous as he is talented, Barry Manilow.
So please just sit back, relax,
and enjoy the evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome creator and owner of Brush Palm Springs, DAP client, Barry Nadeau.
One afternoon, on a Friday, I visited a free clinic in New York City.
because I knew there was something terribly wrong with me. The doctor confirmed my worst suspicions when she told me she didn't think I would live to see Monday. I was diagnosed with what we now know as full-blown AIDS. My viral load was off the charts, and my T cells were almost non-existent. Even so, I had a strange sense of calm that AIDS would not defeat me. I determined I wouldn't let my illness define me, and I have survived for more than 30 years living with AIDS. I am not my illness, but HIV is my daily companion. Today, I have a loving husband, 3 amazing children, a lovely daughter-in-law, and the most adorable granddaughter ever. I know how different my life could have been if it hadn't been for the kindness of loving strangers, people who were willing to hold out their hand to me in my darkest hour. That's exactly what Desert AIDS Project has been doing since 1984, holding out helping hands to those who need them. Often the need is desperate, just as my need had been. When I arrived in Palm Springs, I knew I had to be part of DAP in any small way that I could and help to pay forward what has been given to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel proud and honored to introduce to you some of those wonderful volunteers who brought DAP to life 35 years ago.
The starts are always tough. Everybody who was involved in this gave everything. We had people who themselves first had AIDS. They didn't know what it was, but they knew they were sick and dying, but they still wanted to do something. They wanted to make an impact somehow.
What I remember are the first 5 or 6 of us and the sort of sense of desperation that we felt. Most of the people we were taking care of were our friends.
The first meeting we had, someone came in and gave us a check for $100, and we thought we were just the greatest organization in the world.
It was all secret. Don't let anybody know. Everybody was afraid of the word AIDS. It scared the heck out of everybody. You couldn't tell anybody that you were associated with an AIDS project because they were afraid they were going to catch it from you. George Sonsel, as a psychologist, was seeing people, and so he opened an office right next to the Desert Sun. So he was there all day. They didn't think anything. Big parking lot. So when he closed his office at 5, at 6, we came in and started testing. They would come in and just fill up that parking lot to be tested, secret.
When I look back at what it was like when we started this and to see what has happened with it is extremely humbling.
What the AIDS Project has done for people is just, it's amazing. It's more than amazing. To say how we did it, it just happened. Things happened and it was meant to be.
Who could think that Steve Chase, whom I met, and I fought having that rich guy be there until I met him. And then he was great. He loved to dance, and I loved to dance, and he'd invite us to parties at his house in the Heights. As soon as I'd walk in, the music would come up, and he'd start and ask me to dance, and he and I would dance half the night away. And it was just fun, and across the street was Joan Kroc, and he had got her house and decorated, and that's all he wanted to do was decorate. And he was a great guy. He was so gentle. And all he wanted to do was decorate. And when he got the Desert AIDS Project going over around Bilardo, all he could think of is, take a look, we're in the Architect's Digest. And he had a big story in the Architect's Digest showing the beauty that he and Michael Kiner created.
We all had a dream in the beginning. We all had a dream of working towards what exactly the AIDS Project has turned out to be.
Please welcome from the Living Desert, Angie Woods.
For the last 29 years, I have worked as the executive assistant at the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens in Palm Desert. For almost as long, I have been a survivor of HIV/AIDS and a very grateful client of the Desert AIDS Project. I am also, along with a handful of people in this room, someone who had the great fortune of personally knowing internationally renowned and respected interior designer, art collector, and philanthropist Steve Chase. His mark on this community, even 25 years after his death, remains indelible. He bequeathed not only $2.5 million towards the construction of our Stephen B. Chase Administration Building, but his entire collection of 49 plein air landscapes by distinguished California impressionists. Stephen Barrett Chase's generosity, single-mindedness, and selflessness knew no bounds. That is why the Desert AIDS Project named this gala after him. It is why tonight the organization is posthumously recognizing him by bestowing upon him the Steve Chase Humanitarian Award. I am so deeply moved and honored to be here to accept it on his behalf.
DAP started in 1984, a very small grassroots organization, and unfortunately, literally all we could do is help people die.
And at that time, you couldn't use the word AIDS. I mean, Desert AIDS Project was called Community Counseling Associates because you couldn't put the word AIDS in the phone book. Donors wouldn't write a check with the word AIDS on it.
Steve was very courageous. He lived as an out gay man at a time when that wasn't necessarily popular, but I think there was great strength for him in his notoriety and his celebrity. I mean, people clamored to hire Steve Chase to design their homes.
Steve was smart enough to be able to relate to somebody on their level. My father, who was a Hall of Fame baseball player who probably couldn't be, I wouldn't call him homophobic, but more conservative, less informed about what it means to be gay, they were really good friends.
Steve had a tremendous impact on the Palm Springs Art Museum. In those days, it was called the Palm Springs Desert Museum, and he wanted it to become more of an art museum. So by his donating about 135 works and $1.5 million to seed the building of a beautiful new wing, it became a first-class, internationally known museum because Steve helped launch that.
He always had animals. He had amazing cats in his house. He had these Bengal cats that would climb up the sides of his sofas, and he'd go, oh, there goes $200 a yard worth of silk. And but because of that, he became very involved at the Living Desert.
And without his assistance at the Living Desert, I don't think we would have gotten a lot of our donors that we have now, because he really introduced the people of the valley to the Living Desert.
I think the word humanitarian would have meant a lot to Steve because it is defined, and this is in my mind, as someone who cares about the human quality for everyone. And even though Steve's life was obviously very affluent, he cared very much for everyone.
I remember the ugly part of the AIDS crisis. There was a contractor that worked for Steve. His name was Joey, and he did wall. Sorry. And he did wall texturing, and Steve used them on a lot of his jobs. And Joey got really sick with AIDS, and he couldn't get the care that he needed. So Steve would hire a car, put him in the car, send him to Los Angeles to see his doctor, used his resources to make sure that people that he knew got help.
He made it a mission to make people's lives better who are living with HIV.
Probably the most public recognition that Steve made about his condition was the very first gala at the McCallum prior to the first Steve Chase Awards, where he and Joan Kroc and Betty Ford were all honored. From the podium, he talked about living with HIV.
And specifically said he wanted people to realize that people still had lives, people still worked, people still were productive, and Steve was for a number of years.
I know that when he would go into an art gallery, he would go in very quickly, and what he would do is he'd say, I take that work, and that work, and that work, and that work, and the one in the back room too.
Stephen would have these lights in his eyes and this smile like a kid, and he said, oh my goodness, he said, my favorite clients are those who just went public because the money's come in so fast, it can go out just as fast and they don't even complain. So he went to the lot, and it was midday, and Stephen said, wait here for a second. And he went to all four corners of the lot and peed on each of the four corners. And he came back to me and he said, Tom, the job's mine, let's go to lunch.
I think he would be very proud of what's been accomplished through the Desert AIDS Project because it treats the whole body. It's not just the disease. You have pet sitters, you have people that will pick up a client and get them to their appointments. You have someone who will go buy groceries for them. You have housing now. You got the beautiful housing facility right behind DAP for those that can't afford homes. Free counseling, everything that you could think of that a patient would need is at that facility.
I think today as we sit and we celebrate 25 years of this event and 34 years of the Desert AIDS Project, we're talking about Steve who died 25 years ago, and his philanthropy to Desert AIDS Project and other organizations have allowed us to expand tremendously to provide caring, loving services and health care to about 5,000 people in the Coachella Valley. So it's a dramatic impact for the Coachella Valley.
My name is Bridget Picou. You may remember me from this stage 2 years ago. I work at Desert AIDS Project Medical Clinic as a licensed vocational nurse, and I live with HIV. Steve Chase, the man for whom tonight's gala is named, was another light in our valley who guided our mission to focus on the whole person that we treat. Because of my HIV status, I have an opportunity to be a light to individuals who are newly diagnosed. Thank you. I make sure that my patients know it's not a death sentence and that it can change you in a positive way. Around this room, there are other people not just living, but thriving with HIV. These people's stories shine a light on the impact of Desert AIDS Project. People like Gerald McKenna. Under the care of Dr. Shuba Kakar, he was cured of the hepatitis C that was making life with HIV a lot more complicated. Kalia Smith. Under the care of our chief medical officer, Dr. David Morris, Kalia was able to suppress the virus so that she could give birth to a healthy baby boy named Nehemiah. Kim Skeet. Under the care of nurse practitioner Anthony Velasco, Kim finally has a transgender care specialist who has the training and empathy to provide safe passage on her gender journey while she thrives with HIV. Kit Parente, also under the care of Anthony Velasco, Kit was able to heal from injuries sustained during a surgery that didn't go very well. Kit helps run the Transgender Community Coalition, a key partner organization for Desert AIDS Project, as we work for our gender-diverse siblings to get the care and advocacy they deserve. Kit is HIV negative, but fights daily to combat HIV in our community. These individuals are taking the help that they receive from DAP and paying it forward to help others in our community who are in need. Instead of just surviving, this is what thriving looks like.
Please welcome California State Controller, Betty Yee.
It is truly a thrill and honor for me to join you in celebration of the marriage of Jeff Coors and James Williamson to community service. Each accomplished in their own right, and their careers in community service combined have touched countless lives. I and many others, including Palm Springs voters, delighted in Jeff and James elevating their marriage to service by running for elected office and winning. After devoting so much of their time to supporting candidate and issue campaigns to enhance the quality of life for all in their communities, especially those needing an extra hand. As the Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Palm Springs, Jeff is tackling the tough issues of homelessness, affordable housing, and economic development. Palm Springs, please rise as I present to you Jeff Coors and James Williamson, the 2019 Partners for Life honorees.
When Jeff and I were initially told that we'd be receiving this award, it literally took our breath away. I think it took our breath away for a number of reasons, and I want to share maybe 3 of them this evening. Firstly, it's an award from the Desert Age Project, which is an organization that we hold in the highest esteem. We hold it in that esteem because DAP does transformational work. Every day, it changes the lives of its clients. So for us to be honored by this organization is just huge. So thank you. Thank you. Secondly, to be recognized by DAP with an award called Partners for Life is personally for us very touching. Anyone in a relationship knows that when one of you commits to a project, both of you get engaged. So for us for DAP to recognize our partnership is personally very meaningful. So thank you for that. And thirdly, again, on the Partners for Life theme, we really are partners with so many people in this room, in the organizations that we support, and in the work that we do. Having lived in a number of cities, when you have a project or an idea, so many times when you share it with someone, the response is, these are the following reasons that you can't do that. You don't have the resources, you don't have the support, it's not your turn, wait in line, raise some money. Here in this community, when you say to someone, hey, there's a project I want to work on, you get 2 responses. One is, fantastic, how can I help? And the second is, let me introduce you to 2 or 3 people that I know can help make this project successful.
As we thought about tonight and our connection with DAP, we realized that DAP's holistic approach to serving people checks so many of the boxes of the things and issues we care about. Ending HIV and AIDS, healthcare, affordable housing, reducing homelessness, job training, public education, ending stigma, and creating opportunities for people to live their best possible lives. These issues are the ones we have dedicated much of our professional, volunteer, and philanthropic work to, and they align so closely with the life-changing and life-saving work that DAP does. We are so excited about DAP Vision 2020's capital campaign because it's an incredible opportunity to expand the work DAP has done to serve even more people. And we're so thrilled that this organization saw a need and just stepped in to take that challenge. So thank you to DAP for that. And so while James is my partner for life, everyone in this room is a partner in the work of DAP. From the incredible staff led by David, the board, the amazing volunteers, the clients, and all of the donors. Each person here and involved with DAP is part of something bigger than themselves. So while there is much that divides people these days, you can't turn on the television without hearing that people are so divided. there's something so much stronger that unites us. And we can all see and feel it here tonight. And that's our common humanity and our commitment to helping those in need. So thank you to everyone here who makes a difference in this incredible desert community. We are so fortunate to call home, and especially to DAP for this truly incredible honor. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening. My name is Al Jones, and like 400 of you here tonight, I am a proud member of the Partners for Life who financially support DAP and its programs. I'd like to thank and honor the courage of Barry, Bridget, Gerald, Kalea, and Kim for sharing their personal stories of not just living with, but thriving with HIV. Thank you for being a bright light. Most of you knew my husband of 26 years, Mark Bird, who died just a few months ago of pneumonia of unknown origin. However, few of you knew that Mark was HIV positive for over 30 years. But his HIV status is not the whole story. There was more to the story than HIV. Mark experienced depression. Mark made a secret decision not to share with me that he decided to stop taking his medications in the spring. Hiding the truth of his depression compelled Mark to put up a happy front, which many of you here tonight experienced. The result of hiding his depression and not taking his medications was a depressed immune system which, while not the cause, contributed to his body's inability to effectively fight the pneumonia, leading to his death. His decision to stop his medication was a function of depression, and this action allowed his HIV to further weaken his overall immune system. If his friends and I had been aware of the signs of depression earlier, we could have helped him to receive the mental health support services he needed from DAP. Depression is a silent killer, but it doesn't need to be. That's why DAP has a full behavioral mental health department that complements its healthcare program. So tonight, I don't want to dwell on the sadness of Mark's passing. I want to celebrate his life. He lived a beautiful life, and I'd venture to say that over 40% of you here tonight participated in his life in one way or another. He shined his own light every day of the year, regardless of the depression he experienced. I want to help reflect his light on the mission not only of ending the stigma associated with HIV/AIDS, but also treating often overlooked mental health issues associated with HIV/AIDS. I ask all of you to join me tonight in shining that light by ensuring Desert AIDS Project has the funding it needs. I will proudly match up to $250,000 in memory of my husband, Mark Bird. Thank you. I will always love and remember you, Mark, as will so many here tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of Desert AIDS Project, David Brinkman.
It was just over a year ago that Gunilla Carlson, a phenomenally accomplished woman, was appointed by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez as UNAIDS Deputy Executive Director for Management and Governance and Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations. Headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, UNAIDS, also known as the Joint Nations Program on HIV and AIDS, is the global United Nations body committed to ending the AIDS epidemic by 2030. It's the organization that created a narrative on HIV prevention, treatment, care, support, and spearheaded the new, final, and ambitious but achievable target known as 90-90-90, one of which DAP has committed itself to. By 2020, 90% of all people living with HIV will know their status. By 2020, all people diagnosed with HIV infection will receive sustained antiretroviral therapy. And by 2020, 90% of all people receiving antiretroviral therapy will have viral suppression, which means that it will be nearly impossible for them to pass the virus to others. Please join me in welcoming UNAIDS Deputy Executive Director, Gunilla Carlson, and accompanied by her colleague, Musa Lumbaba El Senor.
UNAIDS is deeply humbled to be recognized and to receive this award from an organization that has made and continues to make incredible contributions to the AIDS response. The Desert AIDS Project is changing the game in HIV. We accept the award on behalf of all those around the world who are working tirelessly to make sure that no one is left behind, mainly in civil society, who have been at the heart of the AIDS response from the very beginning. Our success at UNAIDS and everywhere, or our failure, is dependent on their full participation. They are a source of information regarding what works and how to reach people. Their activism informs our policies and practices. I would also like to acknowledge the important contribution by so many creative people like Mr. Chase, who were and have been at the forefront of the AIDS response from the early days of this epidemic. And they are still with us. Tonight, I want to thank the Desert AIDS Project for its tremendous contribution to the AIDS response. And I congratulate all of you here tonight who have made and continue to make Desert AIDS Project the successful model of care. I had the pleasure of visiting the clinic yesterday, and I commend you for your hard work, your perseverance, and your dedication to excellence. 35 years ago, we had little to offer people living with and vulnerable to HIV. There was no treatment and little funding for AIDS. There was widespread denial instead of political commitment, and there were millions dying in silence and shame. But the AIDS response has shown that when people stand up and demand their rights, denial and inaction are shattered. It was people living with HIV, those affected, who turned everything around in this epidemic. And over the years, they have inspired and driven progress in the AIDS response. They have been fighting for their lives and for millions of others. Today, we are, thank you. Today, we are halfway, only halfway, to halting and reversing this epidemic, and living with HIV is no longer a death sentence. But despite significant advances, UNAIDS remains unfinished business. We still have to fight prejudice, discrimination, exclusion, and criminalization in homes, communities, hospitals, police stations, and courtrooms. I ask you, do all humans share equally the rights to life, health, non-discrimination, and security? Yes. Yes, they do. And the Desert AIDS Project is exactly an example and a response to that question on how community action translates into results. Its success shows what can be done when we put our minds to it. And there is much more work to be done to overcome inequality and exclusion and to reach all those in need of HIV prevention, treatment, care, and support. This means that civil society needs serious, ongoing funding support as well as the political space and freedom to act. So let us all work together to end AIDS and to enable a future that brings prosperity, opportunity, and human rights for all. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure to introduce you to Musa Lulumba El Nasser, a medical student from Uganda. He has dedicated his youthful life to educate young people in his home country of Uganda and across the world through his work in I+, the Global Fund, and at our UNAIDS board. I can tell you that this young man is going places. Musa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Musa Lumumba from Uganda, a young man who has grown up in the youth movement within the community of people living with HIV. I was diagnosed at the age of 15 when I lost my dear twin brother to an AIDS-defining illness. Allow me please to envision with you a world free of AIDS, a world where all people, including key populations, young people, adolescents, and elderly, women and girls, as well as boys and men, are leading healthy and dignified lives and are accessing HIV and other health-related services that meet their emerging sexual and reproductive needs. Congratulations to you all, the beautiful people of Palm Springs, and the good people that are leading the Desert AIDS Project. Thank you so much, David, with your wonderful team. Thank you. This is what we believe in and what we stand for as UNAIDS, mobilizing political and community support, setting the pace and the global agenda to ensure that science is matched with the necessary resources and tools to deliver results for all people, including those that always find themselves at the margins of society. I and my senior colleague Gunilla here do accept this award on behalf of the United Nations Joint Program on HIV and AIDS wholeheartedly. Cheers, cheers, asante sana.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to a member of the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and a Tony, Emmy, and Grammy winner, the one, the only, Barry Manilow.
that's a wrap. I hope you've enjoyed this special presentation of the 25th Annual Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards. We want to, of course, thank the amazing Barry Manilow. Wasn't that a great show? And of course, Desert AIDS Project for all they do for our community. And of course, you, our viewers. Without you, none of this would happen. I'm Sandy Newton for NBC Palm Springs. Thanks for watching.